Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I would like to dive with you into the SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language, which is very commonly used and is very essential language for the business analysts, especially in investment banking. SQL is the language that can help business analysts to do deal analysis, managing massive data set, and also in the cases when they have to prepare some data for the client's presentation. And by end of this video you will understand how SQL can fit into your career, real world examples, and also where we can start in order to learn it. As I mentioned already, SQL stands for the Structured Query Language, and it has been also the language of the data. I would say it's how we interact with the data which is stored in the rows and the columns. And some of those databases can store millions of records. That's why for us as the business analysts, it's so important to understand the SQL so we can build a query that will help us to derive just specific amount of data that we need to work with for some specific analysis, let's say. In the simple terms, let's look at the question like that, which we can utilize using the SQL queries. Show me all the clients with the portfolio above the 10 million, or find the average transaction size over the past 6 months, or even give me the top 5 most active traders in the Europe market. With SQL, you can write the query which will be exactly the sentence in a data language, and it will help you to derive exactly information that you're looking in a seconds. Here it's very important to mention that SQL actually it's not the programming language like Python or Java. So you will not be able to build with the SQL website or application. So SQL you will be using for collecting the data. And that's why it's so powerful for the business analyst. So here we don't need to be developer in order to understand and to build the queries using the SQL. Think about SQL as the personal assistant. So instead of pulling all the data that you have in your database or some specific tables into Excel and then endlessly scrolling through a significant amount of the files from the Excel, instead you just type a command, a query, and SQL will help you to derive exactly the data that you're looking for, perfectly filtered and formatted. That's why it's very scalable and efficient. And it's the best part that SQL is surprisingly, it's very easy to learn. You don't need to have a computer science degree in order to start learning SQL. So why business analysts in the investment banking need SQL? Investment banking, it's a very highly data-intense industry, and everything from the deal making to the risk assessment will be heavily relying on the data, and not just for the sake of the data, but because of data is always more accurate, and business analysts they very often working under the pressure to deliver the right insight for the analysts or management in order to shape multi-million decisions. You have to also understand that mastering SQL, it's not just making your life easier, but indispensable. And here are some real scenarios where SQL is invaluable. So if you're looking from the deal analysis perspective, you can be asked to pull all companies in the healthcare sector with the revenue of the CAGR of over 10% in the last 5 years. From the market research area can be like list top performing funds based on the risk-adjusted return. Risk management area, it can be filter loans exceeding 10 million with the LTV ratios over 80%. From the client reporting can be create a dashboard for portfolio returns broken down by geography. So all those tasks require structured data extraction, and SQL will give analysts the ability to access the data directly without relying on tech teams or waiting on IT tickets. Let's move on to the writing SQL queries. Suppose you are working on the merger and acquisition deals, and your manager is asking you to evaluate historical performance of the targeted company for the last 5 years. So using SQL, you could write something like this. Select where you specify, for example, which exactly year you're looking for revenue, EBITDA, profit margin. Let's suppose name of the table will be financial statements, Then you specify where you want to say company is equal AB, wherever you specify the name of the company, and then you also call it order by year description. Within the seconds, you have got a table of a clean, structured financial data. And from there, you can plug it into Excel, for example, and generate charts or valuation models. And there are so many platforms where you can start to learn about SQL. One of my favorite free resources, of course, it will be from Harvard University. And one of the examples can be CS50's Introduction to the Databases with the SQL. So here definitely you will learn how to create, read, update, delete data with the rational databases, which store of the data in the rows and the columns. Learn how to model real-world entities and a relationship among them. You will also learn how to model real-world examples and relationship between them using the tables with the appropriate types, triggers, and constraints. Definitely it will help you also to understand how you can automate searches with the views, to expedite searches with the indexes. Learn how to connect even SQL with other languages like Python or Java. Other courses for the business analysts can be Coursera. One of the example can be SQL for the data science. It's the same. It will help you to identify the subset of the data needed from a column or set of columns and write the SQL query to limit to those results. Also, you will learn about how to create an analysis table from multiple queries using the union operator, manipulate strings, dates, numeric data using the function to integrate the data from different sources into the fields with the correct format for the analysis. Another resources for learning will be LinkedIn Learning Platform. One of the example can be SQL Essential Trading, which is tailored specifically for the analysts working in the corporate finance and banking. And all of those platforms which we just went through provide you significant amount of opportunities where you can practice and learn. And here is the top SQL commands that every business analyst should master. First and foremost, of course, is the select, because it will help you to retrieve the data, where, because it helps you to filter data, join, combine tables, group by, summarize data, order by, sort results, and count some average. It's basically help you to aggregate the data. And knowing just those basics will allow you to perform 80% of the business data tasks. And what is the most important, that actually you don't need to memorize them, because once you start to practice them regularly, you will be able to build your muscle memory. So to conclude here, SQL, it's one of the most valuable skills that you can develop as the business analyst in your career. And if you enjoyed this video, you might also like this one, and please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. And thank you very much for watching me, and see you in the next video.